Hello and welcome back to another video on the Cole Griffith Racing YouTube channel and Facebook page. And in today's video, we're going to be interviewing Mom. So Mom, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hello, I'm the mom, Alicia Gresseth. A lot of people call me AJ. Stands for Alicia Joe, which was named after a race car driver, AJ Foyt, actually. So I'm the mom, and my role is to keep the race team going. I play the mediator and the therapist between father and son, and I pack the sandwiches in the cooler and drive the pickup, and I make sure that we are all together as a family as much as we can be.
Yeah, so she does actually way more than she gives herself credit for. She, as she mentioned, she even drives us to and from the racetrack late at night and stuff, which we should probably start. I should probably start doing a little bit more of, but she does a lot of it. But you mentioned being named after a race car driver, so how about we just talk about how you got involved in racing?
Well, my dad raced when I was a little kid, so that's kind of how I have a couple memories of going back to when I was 3-4 years old being at the races. And then he actually quit when I was 4 because he rolled his car and my mom said no more. So we kind of got out of racing for a few years, and then we got back involved with racing again when my parents started pitting for Greg Johnson. And that's kind of where I met Matt and kind of got back involved with dating a racer and being around the racetrack every weekend, and that's kind of how that took off.
So you talk about going to the races with Dad. What was that like when it was just you two going to the races and trying to compete for wins?
Well, as you know, racing is not just him and I. It was a big family sport, so his family was very involved, and then my family was too, and so it became things that we would do as a family. And so we would go all the time, every weekend, and race, and Matt had great success with racing, so that made it really fun, and we met a lot of nice people and just had a good time.
Yeah, so he actually did have a lot of success, and that's the next question is the National Championship year. Maybe just talk a little bit about that. It was this car right here that he won it with. Just talk about what that was like trying to race that much during the summer.
Well, we were newly married and didn't have kids or pets or anything to really hold us down, so we would go racing 4 or 5 nights a week, as much as we could, and he was tracking his points run, and we just decided at the beginning of the year, if it started off well, that we would go ahead and go for points that year. And it started well, and so we kept going, and back in those days, we had to track it on a notebook. So we would keep track of where he would start, where he would finish, the points he would get each night. We'd wait for the weekly All the Dirt to come so we could compare what other racers in his class were getting for points, and then we would just keep going every weekend.
So you mentioned how you used to track national points and how you used to see where everybody else got, track your own points. Obviously now we have technology to do all that for us. Was there anything else that sticks out of how racing has changed from then to now?
Well, I think there's all kinds of things. The one that sticks out the most is the whiteboard to line up cars on the track, and how different that was. It took many, many, many laps around the track to get people where they needed to be, and someone had to stand out there and hold the board, and you used to have to wear white pants to go in the pits, so that was a thing I remember growing up with. You had to have white pants. That was all required for all pit crew. And I think just maybe the technology of the cars has changed a lot. You could just take a car and make it a bomber car and it would, be competitive. And now I feel like the cars are very, very different, very aerodynamic, and very, I don't know, there's a lot more rules involved than there ever was before.
Yeah, and I've seen that from when I first started watching, going to, Glendon, Ada, Fargo. Cars even just look a lot different now than they used to. So you went racing with Dad for many years, not only just the National Championship year, but many years before that. So do we have any similarities and differences? And did he whine as much as I do? Because I whine a lot.
I don't think you whine a lot, actually. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities as far as the intensity that you both show on the racetrack. And when things aren't going well and you need to kick it in high gear, you guys are very aggressive, or can be very aggressive. And so I think there's a lot of similarities there. I don't remember Dad whining so much. It's not really his style. You don't really do that either. You get frustrated, but you take it somewhere else. Like, you're very good about, if you're upset about something, you go to the trailer or you go to the RV, or you just get away from everyone just to have time to have those feelings and those emotions. So I feel like you're really good about that.
Yeah, it's I'm getting better.
It's hard. You have a lot of people watching you all the time, and I think that's another difference with social media and just technology. People are always watching.
Yeah, that is so true. So now we're going to kind of try and get into like when I first started racing. And so when I first started racing, it was 2014. I got in a go-kart. Were you a fan of it? Like, were you okay with it, or were you scared, nervous?
No, I didn't. It was just, you could start go-karts at 5 years old, but we didn't start you at 5. We wanted you to make the decision to race if you wanted to race, just not because we liked it. And so we held off a little bit, and you were 7, and you kind of started talking about it, and we started to go and watch. And then we had a friend that had a go-kart that you could kind of take out for a few laps, and you seemed to like it, and we thought, okay, well, let's try it. It's just like anything. You know, we tried soccer with you, we tried basketball, like, you just, Boy Scouts, you try things just to see if your kid is going to enjoy it. And let's just say you were hooked.
I was hooked. That's true. So have you ever been scared of me racing? Because let's be real, go-karts, have you seen those things? They wreck a lot.
Yes, and I think, again, that's changed. When you race go-karts, I don't feel like they were as scary as they are now. When we watch the nephews race, it gets really... I watch him like this, actually, and you can attest to that. I do. And then he gets mad at me because I go, because it's just, it's scary. I think a lot of them maybe don't know racing as much or know the fundamentals behind it, where I feel like you had a good background. You went to the races all the time with Dad when he was flagging. And so you watched the races, you knew what the flags meant, and you knew things. So it was just, I was more comfortable with you back then in go-karts. And the kids you were racing with, you had really good kids in your group. So that helped too.
Yeah, I don't really miss racing them at all, though. That was, they were fun, but they are scary. So,
yeah.
Are there any races that stick out to you from my go-karting days? Because we raced them for 5 years, so there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of fun times. I loved when we would travel, when we would take the cart and go to Aberdeen or Jamestown, Crookston, Grand Forks. It just felt fun. It felt like we had a race car again, like we were on a little circuit and racing a lot. So those were all good times. But I think my favorite go-kart race of yours, was in Valley City.
Yeah.
There were 3 races that day.
Yep.
1 trophy. And Cole won the race that had the trophy. And it was the last lap pass, and it was really exciting. So that was probably my favorite one.
Yeah, I remember that because the racetrack in Fargo here, they gave out plaques, kind of like this one here. And growing up, going to the races, and you see these trophies, you just want a trophy. So to finally get a trophy over a plaque, it was really cool. And so then after those 5 years, it was 2020. It was time. I was 12 years old. What kind of influenced the decision to move up out of the go-karts, and why did we go to what we did?
Well, it just kind of seemed like it was a natural transition to do something different. It was time to be done with go-karts. It just got to a point with the go-karting crew at that time that it just seemed like, I don't want to say you were picking up bad habits, but that you weren't learning things that could help you in the future. So we just decided it was time to try something different. And because of your age, it was a limited amount of things we could go into. So it just seemed natural to start with a Hornet. So that was where we kind of talked about it and decided, well, I think there was a discussion about a Slingshot.
There was.
But Mom said no. So we went with the Hornet, which was a great decision.
Yeah, and I think the Slingshot talk was maybe a couple years earlier than the Hornet. But ended up going with the Hornet. And when I first got the Hornet, do you think I was ready for it? And did I think that I was ready for it? Do you remember?
I think there was a little bit of nervousness from all of us just because you were driving a full-size car and you didn't have your driver's license. You've never even driven a regular car. So there was some kind of apprehension about that. But Dad took you out on the gravel roads.
Yep.
The manual, learning how to drive that. I think Greta and I went with one time in the back seat and laughed the whole time because I think you killed it a few times. But I think that was just all part of the learning and the process. And I think our intention with that was just to have you do laps, like to just get seat time, get comfortable. We weren't going to race a big 40 race schedule. It was just going to be like, let's pick a track, let's get them on the track, and let's just see how it goes. And that way too, we didn't have a lot invested in it if it turned out to be something you didn't like.
Yeah, it was definitely a good first step. And yeah, I think we only raced 20 times a year pretty much, and that was good for us to just, you know, get up to speed. And that really helped me when I switched to the streeter too, because it was just, you know, they're not, I mean, they are faster, but they're not that much faster. So you get used to going quicker than you would in a go-kart, and racing around other adults too, which is a really big thing.
And I kind of felt like a lot of people did the legend thing, like went to legends, and so nothing wrong with that, but we just felt like, let's do something different. So I just felt like it was a good move.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I raced Hornets for a full year. I finally get my first win in one of them. And then we come out the second year, and we rolled over.
Are we going to talk about the first win?
We could talk about the first one. You want to go ahead with the first one?
The first win in the Hornet was spectacular, right?
Yeah.
So last lap, you and Pokey Lukes over corner 4 in Lisbon, and we didn't know who won the race. And it ended up being you. He was towed into victory lane and had his first victory lane moment. It was really, really cool.
It was cool. Yeah, I remember the interview that I gave after that. He asked me some question, and all I could say was, yeah, that was fun. And I only had like 3 sponsors to thank, so it was a really quick interview. But yeah, super, super cool. I didn't really even care if I won that race. It was just kind of cool to be able to run up front and compete with other cars. I think that was like maybe my 4th or 5th race in a Hornet. So to be able to do that was really cool.
It was really cool.
So now we go from checkers and wreckers, I guess, to just wreckers. Let's talk about the first rollover and what you felt after that.
Okay, so the rollover in the Hornet in Fergus Falls.
Fergus Falls.
I was recording at the time, and I just watched you, and you went into corner 3, and then you just started flipping, and I just kept recording. And my mom was with me, and she was freaking out behind me, and I just knew you were okay. I knew you were fine because I had a lot of trust in the car and your safety gear and everything that was protecting you. So I wasn't concerned about that, but it did hit me a couple days later, and I couldn't stop crying. And it made me rethink all of the stuff that we had, you know, talked about, like, do we really want to continue with this sport, and is this a good idea, and how safe is this, and all those questions that came up afterwards.
Yeah, so it was a big one. I don't know if you've ever seen the video. There's a whole bunch of videos out there online that I've posted, and I'm sure I'll post another one in the future here too. But pretty much rolled over. It was a tumble. I think I rolled 4 or 5 times, and it actually ended up crushing the cage right by my head right here, which I'm sure definitely didn't help your nerves at all.
Nope, not at all.
But not only that, but I thought I was going to be fine coming back from it. It didn't scare me at all. So then when I got back in the car, I wasn't up to speed. And it wasn't even really, I don't think that I was scared, but I think it was like I was scared of wrecking again and wrecking stuff, mainly more than hurting myself. So maybe just talk about the process of how you got me back over my fear again.
Well, I think it was a slow process. We took, I want to say it was probably a month that we went back on the track, you hung out in the back, you just did laps. And we were trying to be supportive of that and just giving you time to just take your time. We'll see if you can get back into it. And then it got to a point where we just had a really hard conversation and said, we don't think that you are ready to do this. Like, we've given you some time. It doesn't seem like that's helping or that's working. So I think it'd be best if we just park the car for a while. And you were not happy about that. Not happy at all. But I think it was one of the best things that ever happened to you, because it helped you to just pause and then decide that you really wanted to do it. I mean, I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because then when you came back out the second time, it was back to the old Cole. And I think it wasn't a way to punish you. It was just we knew you had more to give, and that you weren't being yourself, and that we as parents had to just say, okay, it's time to take a break because this isn't him. So
Yeah, and I mentioned this on the After the Checker show with Kyle Hall, and I actually said it was Dad that parked me, but it was Mom, so I apologize to everybody that heard that. It was actually Mom. It was her idea.
it was a joint conversation.
But as we mentioned there too, is the best thing that ever happened to me, because who knows, I maybe never would have came back up to speed fully. So I was not happy, and the next race we went back out, and I think I finished third or something like that. So we were right back up there again, and kind of weird how that all worked, but it did end up working. And were there any races from the Hornets that really stand out to you in your mind?
Oh yeah, there was one in Fergus Falls where you started 14th
14th.
and won. And that was so fun to watch because you worked your way through actually, I think did you win the week before or 2 weeks before?
2 weeks before, because the week in between rained out.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
and you were on the pole or started in the front row that time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, that was fun and exciting because that was his first win at Fergus and it was really fun. But then to come back 2 weeks later and win from 14th, it felt like it wasn't an accident. Like you did it. It was because of your talent that you were able to get that other win. So that was really fun. And yeah, we had a good time with that win.
Yeah, that was fun. So it was at this point after the 2020 race season where we kind of sat down and really were starting to talk about what our next step was, because I was 13 years old, almost turning 14, and let's just say the Hornet class was almost kind of getting to be the same as a go-kart class, and it was kind of getting to be a dead-end class, and we were just looking for something more, something to move on to, which you can talk a little bit more about here too. But we were kind of questioning what that next step was, and obviously we ended up going with the streeter. But what were your initial thoughts on getting a streeter?
Well, that was the hard decision because I think you know when it's time to move on, and I felt like we knew that with karts it was time, and then we got to the point with Hornets where we knew it was time to do something different, but it just didn't seem like, you were almost 14. It didn't seem like we were ready to make the big jump to a modified or a B mod or go big, and so it was like, what is the next level? Like, what's the next step up? And so I just felt like streeter was the obvious answer.
Yeah, it felt like the right fit, and it still feels like the right fit.
Yeah.
It's a good group, and we were really struggling to understand the car right away and just kind of learning that, but I feel like everybody does that, and now I feel like we're kind of starting to finally settle in here and even find like new people in the class that really like it too, trying to get more people involved, because it really is a great class to get started in. So we talked about the first win in Lisbon with the Hornet. Let's talk about the first win in the streeter in Lisbon.
Also in Lisbon.
What was your emotions with that?
Oh, the one in Lisbon. So that one was really fun because it was unexpected, which I think are the most fun, but you were on the high side and Usadis was on the bottom side, low side, and it was lap after lap, and you just kept just kind of getting closer and closer and closer, running second most of the race.
Yep.
And we got to the end, like the last 3 or 4 laps, and it was getting closer every time. And so when when the white flag came out, I think both grandmas were there, and they thought the race was over, so they were standing up and cheering, and I was like, oh my gosh, we still have one more lap to go. And you came around and you won. And it was a close race. It was exciting. And I think afterwards I just sat there for a while because I couldn't even believe it had happened. It just felt, again, like you worked really hard for it. And I honestly thought the whole time that you were going to blow it over the top. And I was scared of that every time you'd go around. I thought, oh no, he's going to go over the edge. But you didn't. You ran a perfect race, and it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, so I remember, I still am this way. I hate running the top of any racetrack.
You
It's
don't.
not my thing. And I just went up there. Like, Dad told me to go run up there, and I was 14. I didn't know any different, so I just went and ran up there. I think there were only 2 of us up there. But that was like prime Lisbon too. It was a stacked field of cars.
It was.
And I just went up there and I almost spun out 3 times. I think I almost blew it off the top probably 3 times. And after the checkered, I remember I tried to stick my hand out the window and I ended up spinning out across the line. So
Again?
needless to say, it's never happening again. I'm not doing that. So I had to learn that. But we learned so much from that race, and It really was just a lot of fun.
It was a really, really good race, and just one of those that even afterwards you just, wow, did that really happen?
And even there, both grandparents were there.
Yeah.
Like, everybody was, it was great.
Yeah.
And so that kind of also leads us into checkers and wreckers to wreckers again. My first rollover in the streeter, it also was a dandy.
Oh yeah, it sure was. So that was for a tour race.
Yep.
And it was in Glendon, so we had a lot of family and friends there, of course, because it was close to home. So we had a packed section of grandstands, and it was your heat. It was in the heat. So it was kind of one of those moments where you needed to go for it in order to make a move and make something happen, because if you didn't, you weren't going to make it into the feature, or you were going to be starting farther back.
Yep.
So it was kind of a, all right, he's going to go for it, and you did.
I went for it.
You went for it. And I screamed pretty good on that one. That rollover was a lot, and that one bothered me. Not so much like, I knew you were safe, but when I go back and I look at the onboard camera footage of it, the way his head was slamming around in there, I don't like that one. That bothered me.
Yeah, and we talked about this too. I have a video out there about this too as well. They were almost identical. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've flipped my Hornet and Streeter. They were the same. The cage crushed again, and obviously that didn't. I came back in the pits this time, and I was like, okay, let's get this thing put back together so we can make the feature.
You were mad.
I think there's a B made. I was really mad. And then Dad came over and was like, no, you can't. The cage is crushed. So that was sad. But we got the car put back together in a week and made it back out there again. And
kudos to having a great cage. Like, Lasky takes really good care of you, and he's done a really nice job, and I always feel like you're safe. So, but yeah, let's stop. Let's not do that anymore.
No, that's on the...
We're done.
I forgot to mention that in the goals video, but the goal is not to roll over this.
We're not going to do that.
Okay, so most memorable street stock races that I've been a part of.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there's quite a few. I mean, I feel like I can go back to your first time at the 100 when you didn't make the 100, and how that just crushed you. You were like, I'm doing it next year. And so the next year we came back, and it took you the very last day, right?
I almost won the prelim.
But you made it in, and I think I cried when you finally made it in, because it was just so exciting to know that you'd worked towards it and you made it.
I'm also going to add to that real quick. The Friday night, we raced all week, and I was close, but the Friday night, I was leading the prelim with 3 to go, and then the yellow came out, and they called it on me for something that could have gone either way.
Fluke deal.
Yeah, and so for me to make it into the show on Saturday through a B-main, it was like a really big thing, because I was so close to even making it on Friday. So
yeah,
so, just a little bit of context there on that one. But
so that was a big memorable race. Obviously, just making it into the feature was huge.
Yep.
I would say, let's talk about John Seitz.
Yeah.
Not this year's Seitz, last year's Seitz. That was a hard one, because you did so good leading the race, and then lost it at the very last possible moment at the line. And I try really hard to be the positive input in the race team, and it was really hard to see him be crushed by second place, because it was like, well, you got second, and you were not happy about that. So again, it fueled you, though. I think it was just fuel to the fire, and it was so like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do better next year, and then you won.
I won.
So this year was super exciting, because again, we struggled all year with that Chevelle, and didn't think we would be. I mean, we got a win with the Chevelle, but
But we were gonna quit. Like, we were selling the car this next week.
It was a hard year. Like, this was a very busy year for the therapist in the family. So anyway, it was really tough, and so to have the first weekend you come out with a new body, it went well in Glendon.
Yep.
Then the second week we went to
Grand Forks and
Greenbush. That went really well.
Yep.
So then it was like, okay, is it going to stop? Like, the momentum, like, it was going so well. And then the Seitz. So that was super exciting. He won everything. He won everything at Seitz. So that was really fun. And that one I think was very shocking, because of all the struggles and all of the hard work during the summer, it paid off, and it was great.
Yep, that was all very memorable races that we won't ever forget.
I could keep going. Jamestown,
the
Stampede. Oh, the Stampede. So last year's Stampede was great.
Yep.
Second. This year, leading a good chunk of the Stampede. And then we had,
we got screwed.
Some bad luck from another driver and from the track. Both. We got screwed.
Yeah.
So that was a bad deal. But again, you just push it past you. You go to the next week. We had great success at the 100.
Fuel it for next year.
Yep, there you go. The 100 was great. The Gopher was great. So it was a really nice...
It was a good way to end a very rough year.
But then we didn't want to stop.
No. We went from wanting to be done, sell the car for good, never go to a race again.
Typical racer.
To never wanting to leave the racetrack. So,
right.
Yeah, very typical racer.
Right.
Okay, so we're kind of done talking about the past now. Talk about more about you. Okay, so what is it like on the day of the races for a mom? Now, this is just like you can talk about Friday, talk about Saturday, Sunday. Just pick a day, talk about what it's like for you.
Okay. So it's just making sure the cooler's packed, everybody's got what they need in the truck to go. I stay out of the way in the garage because I try to be helpful, and it's not a good thing to do. You guys have your routine, and you have your system, and you have things that everybody does, and it's better if I'm not involved. So I just do what I can to get us ready to go down the road. And yeah, that's about it.
And sometimes you drive, and
sometimes I drive. If Matt's really tired, I will drive. If Cole's, after the races, a lot of the time Cole likes to rewatch his videos on the way home. So a lot of times I will drive home, which I don't mind. And then Matt usually sleeps. And yeah, it's also been a good time for us to chat.
Yeah.
We usually recap things on the way home, so it's good.
And that'll be a question for a little bit later down the line. Is there a fact that I've never really said on Facebook, or you spill the tea here, I guess, really, that they don't know about me that maybe they should?
That you are very much the funding behind our program, our race team. I think a lot of people see a young driver and they think mom and dad are footing the bill for all of it, but to be honest, Cole does it. He goes out and gets sponsorships, and he tracks the expenses of everything that goes on with the race team. So I think you're really good about connecting with your sponsors and keeping them in the loop, and I think maybe a lot of kids his age don't do that, and so it's really great to have you out getting the funding so that it doesn't cost so much for us as a family.
Yeah, and then do you have anything else that's like maybe weird about me, or something that...
What can I say?
What do you want to say? What's kind
of... You're a chewer.
Yeah.
You're nervous, so he chews on his strings of his sweatshirt all the time, or if he's got like a pop bottle, he's got the top in his mouth, he's chewing on that, and I'm always picking on you about you're going to wreck your teeth, right?
Yeah, I got to cut the strings out of sweatshirts because otherwise I just sit there and chew on them. It's terrible.
Nervous habit, maybe.
Okay, so then let's talk more about when you go to the races. I don't know if you even mentioned this as part of your role, but you record all the videos for the videos.
I do.
If you've watched any of them, you've heard. You are very vocal behind the camera. Maybe talk about when that started and if you know why it started or not.
Okay, now I think this is a recent development because I don't remember doing this like when you raced go-karts. I mean, I would cheer for you, but I don't remember it being this intense. But Greta records, so sometimes when we're in the stands, I think people are looking at us funny because we're both recording. But Greta's recording on Snapchat for the grandmas and all kinds of family, actually. There's quite a group of people that watch Cole's races through Snapchat. So Greta does the Snapchat recording, and then I do the recording that he uses for his videos, which is very hard to do because I know you have to put these online. So I have to be really careful not to say names, and it's really hard sometimes when I'm frustrated at people. But I think... and I know we've talked about this before, I think if I say it out loud, you're going to hear me. So when I say, Cole, go high, go high, go high, and he's not going high, I'm like, I just got to say it because I think he's going to hear it and he's going to listen to me.
Yeah, and I think everybody who watches the videos absolutely loves it. I think that's the best part of my videos. It adds another level of intensity to it.
I'm gonna get duct tape. I'm gonna duct tape my mouth next year.
No.
I have to because
Tell her
it's
not
so
to duct tape her
bad.
mouth. It's great.
So bad.
But yeah, I don't ever remember you really doing that for go-karts either, but it's good.
I'm very competitive. So when you're doing well and it's just I hate situations where unfair things happen, which that's life. But some of those really tough races we've talked about, it's really hard to keep your cool because I just want to say something and I don't.
And sometimes you do.
And sometimes
that's
I do,
great.
but
that's great.
I don't swear on there though.
You don't.
I don't swear on there.
You don't really swear anyways, but so I have a couple questions about stuff that you say.
Okay.
When you are recording. So sometimes you say don't hit him.
Yes.
When you say that, are you telling me not to hit the guy or the guy not to hit me?
90% of the time, I'm telling the other driver not to hit you because I know what kind of racer you are. You're not that guy that's going to just hit people to pass them. I know that about you. But unfortunately, you race with a lot of people that do race that way. And so I'm just hoping they can hear me.
Yeah, that's got to be one of your favorites, is the don't hit him.
And just calm down. Calm down.
Easy,
nice and easy. And then, of course, the one you tease me about.
There was one time, yes. The switching from no to go. Maybe I'll have to put a clip in here right now.
No, that would be bad. That's
okay. Well, we're gonna do it. Okay, and then also, this is a question that I don't know if you knew I was gonna ask you or not.
Oh boy.
There has been a few times you've name dropped people. Is there a favorite name or a different driver to yell?
No. It's funny because Greta and I talk about this and we make up middle names for drivers. We don't know what their middle names are, but we just when you're in the mom voice, you got to use all three names. You got to use, first, middle, last. So sometimes we just bust out a driver name and we guess middle names. So anyway, no, there's not anybody in particular. It kind of depends on the race. There've been a few that you have been like a magnet with the last few years that kind of stick out, but no.
I try to do my best to cut those out of the videos, so it kind of happens sometimes more than what I post, but sometimes you catch them and it's kind of funny to listen to.
Again, the duct tape. I just really need to keep my mouth shut.
So you're sitting in the stands during the races.
Yes.
You come in the pits every once in a while, but not very often.
Right.
Do I ever worry you whether I'm in the pits or on the racetrack or?
Oh yeah, every time.
Every
time. But I think my least favorite thing is when you start pole position. Hate pole position.
Well,
hate it.
You're pretty lucky this year because I didn't start there a lot. So.
But that's the nerve-wracking thing because I trust you and I trust your ability, but I just get nervous about something going wrong or happening. So, not my favorite place. And I would way rather have you start 6th or 7th, work your way up, and make it look spectacular. But then again, when you're back 6th or 7th, sometimes you're kind of in...
It's a lot harder to do.
Danger zone. So that's... But yeah, no, I think I'm nervous every time you race. But again, I trust you. It's just all those other people. Don't really trust them.
Yeah, and I've had my fair share of...
You've given me a reason to worry.
Yes.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's legit.
So we're getting down to the end here. These are just going to be a couple of quick rapid fire kind of questions.
Okay.
So what is your favorite racetrack?
Oh gosh. Do I have to pick one?
Give us your top 3.
Oh, top 3. Okay. Well, I think Glendon is the number 1, and that's because of the family history. I feel like that's where my dad raced. That's where Matt and I raced, and where we got engaged. And I think you've had some success at Glendon, so I feel like that's probably the number 1. I really like Grand Forks. I like going there, and I really like Fergus, which sucks because they both race on the same night.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, both of those are really fun. Aberdeen's a fun track. That's more than 3. Sorry.
You're good.
I could keep going.
Yeah, I know each track has its favorite thing or good thing about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, Glendon's family thing there that we have is great.
And it's close to home. It's down the road, so it's easy.
Grand Forks' racetrack is so well known and the shape of it is just great. And then the effort that they put in Fergus and the
staff,
the workers, everybody there, the other people you race with.
Great people around you too. I feel like when we go in the grandstands, it's important who you sit around too. And I feel like the people that sit around us in Fergus are just really great people, and it's comfortable, and you kind of start cheering for each other, and it's great.
Yeah. No. So each racetrack is great. It's just cool, especially with the Streeter. Now we get to go to a lot of different places.
We do. Yep.
Some we go to more than others, but we try to make our way around. What is your favorite event? And you can't say the whole month of September.
It's hard. I really like the sites. I like the sites because it's close to home, but not really. And it's 3 days, so it's not a big long event, but it's just the right amount, and it's really fun. But there is something about the 100. The 100 is really 100. That's really it's grueling, and it's a lot, and it's exhausting, and it's a lot of emotions, and you're tired and you're frustrated, and there's a lot of. I don't like all the money that it costs to race there during that event. I don't like we spend a lot of money there.
A lot of money
there because, usually I take days off of work to be there. The kids miss school. It's planning out meals for that whole time. Plus it's just pay to park in your spot, and just it costs to get in. It's just, everything's more.
I'll just break it down real quick just so you can kind of get an idea. The normal night to go race, obviously you have all your expenses for the car, which you'll still have at the 100.
Yep.
It's $30 to get into the pits for a driver. And with the tour, I think it's $50, but to get into on a normal night, $30. Now, when you go to the 100, you have to buy a pit pass for, if you're going to practice, I guess you got to buy it for Tuesday too, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And you could make it in on Wednesday. You'd still have to buy a pit pass for those 3 days. Mm-hmm. You have to pay to draw to start somewhere. You have to pay to park. And camping. If you have family that's going to camp, or you get in the stands, obviously it's way more too.
Yep.
And not only that, but like you race for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I don't even think they cut checks for those nights. I think that's just you only get paid on Saturday. So it's a really long weekend. It does cost a lot of money, and that's just kind of the behind the scenes thing that a lot of people don't see. But so like the first year when I didn't make the show, and we got a $120 check for days of racing, and as you mentioned, you missed work too, which at the end costs us money too. So
but it's we don't do it for the money. The sport is not because of the money. So we make great memories and we have a good time, and we just try to highlight the positive things with it, because the best of the best are there. The competition there is so intense. There's so many cars there. So you just kind of go into it with, at least I have now, I've gotten to the point where it's like, we just want to make the show and we just want to finish it. Like, that's kind of where I thought this year, we just finish it. Like, no matter where we're at, let's just finish.
And this year too, like,
it was good.
I got fifth this year, and that paid for our whole weekend there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not lost wages and stuff like that, but like the cost of us to go race there, it paid for it. So that was nice.
Yeah.
And I think even if you finish decent in the show, you still make that back, but you got to make the show. So that was really cool too. But so now you've been on this side of the camera. Usually you're behind it, but now you're in front of it. Do you have a favorite side? Do you like being in front of it, or do you like
behind
recording?
It? I like to record.
Well, you're doing great up here.
Thanks. Not my comfort zone, but thank you.
Okay, and then my next question is, which racetrack has the best food, and what's the best kind of food?
Okay, well, I'm not a great judge on this, because you make me nervous, and so I don't typically eat much at the racetrack. But the advantage is you're usually the first class, which is nice. So then after you're done racing, I can usually go get something to eat. But if you ask Greta this, she would say Fergus Falls. She loves their French fries. But I think I am a big fan of the pizza in Grand Forks. Marco's Pizza?
Yep.
I think that's what it's called.
Very convenient.
But if I have to list a favorite, Pizza Pockets at Jamestown. And there were a couple years we went without them, so that was kind of a sad deal, but they're back.
Yeah, that was always my favorite part going to the races when I was younger, because I was still into the races, but I wasn't as into them as I am now. So it was always fun to go get a pizza pocket.
Well, and that goes back to, when I was dating your dad and we would go to West Fargo, and Fargo had pizza pockets. So for me, it was kind of like, again, a memory of like, this is what a Friday night sitting at the racetrack eating a pizza pocket should be like. So it's fun.
So those are all the questions I have for you. But I put a poll out on Facebook yesterday, and we were able to get a couple of questions on there. And so I'm going to just read you what we got.
Okay.
So Shieldbuck wants to know, what is your favorite thing about racing?
It's something we do as a family. So I feel like it's just, I know what we're doing every weekend all summer long, actually spring, summer, fall. We get to spend so much time together, the four of us, and then obviously extended family. So we have other racers in the family, and the grandparents all come, and cousins, and it's a lot of family time. So that's probably my favorite thing.
Okay, and then I had a couple people ask this next one, so I put them together. So Domino and Sherry both want to know, would you ever race my car in a mechanics race or powder puff or anything?
No, absolutely not.
I told her she should, but she doesn't want to.
No. I don't have any interest in that, and I wouldn't want to embarrass you.
Maybe I'll have to put Greta or one of the grandmas in there.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, Arlene wants to know, what is your favorite color car, or favorite color for my car?
Like one that you've had, or one that we want to have?
Do either. Do one that I've had and one that you think maybe I should in the future.
Well, I really like, I did like the Chevelle, because I like red. Red was nice. Red was really nice. The car didn't handle with the darn, but it was a nice car. But I've always wanted you to have...
Please don't say pink.
No, I'm not going to say pink. White, orange, and blue together. I've always wanted to have that like bright blue color.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it. I think that just is sharp and stands out and would look really nice.
Yeah, and we're going to try and work some more blue back into the car this year. We were kind of rushed at the end of last year, so it's kind of just orange and black. But we're going to work on putting the blue back in there eventually.
Do I have to paint the car again?
No.
Okay.
We'll take care of that this time.
Good deal.
Okay, so Cindy wants to know, what is your favorite memory since I have started racing? There's a lot of them.
Oh, favorite one. Okay, so this is really silly. This is a silly memory. But my favorite is when we were standing around go-karts and they were announcing the Dakota Kart Tour champion. And I don't think we knew it was you. Like, they're talking about, it's kind of like, you build up the hype of who got fifth, fourth, and you kind of go through the thing. And we're all kind of standing around like, well, and then they announced your name, and it was just the look on your face. And that trophy that's a big trophy.
Do we have the video of that somewhere?
I don't know if
you probably weren't even recording, because
No,
we really
I
didn't
did.
expect it.
I wasn't recording at the time. We didn't think. I have the picture of you kissing the trophy.
Yep.
But we didn't have that recorded because it was a surprise. So I love that memory because your face was just like...
Yeah, I remember that. I had the lead going into the event, and the last event was in Fargo, which I was pretty decent in Fargo, but we had to run a certain tire with the tour. So we had to run it was a dirt tire, and Fargo's track is asphalt. So I remember I had the lead, and then I had an absolute terrible night in Fargo. Like, so bad. And yeah, somehow we were able to hang on. So that one was...
Yeah.
It was really cool.
That was special.
Okay, so we talked about what it's like on the day for a race mom. Kayla wants to know, what is the prep like for a weekend of racing from a mom's perspective?
It's hard. Kayla knows that too. Like, all of the moms in the families know. So it's a lot of like food prepping and planning. And if we're going to go in the RV for days, you got to get creative because my crew, they don't eat till the races are done. So that's a tricky thing to do because you got to have snacks because everybody's kind of wants a munchie. So you got to have that ready to go. Greta wants to eat before, she doesn't want to wait till 11, 12 o'clock at night when we get done with the races. So just having things that are easy to have on hand, and we get burnt out of the same things all the time. So trying to come up with new and creative things to bring to the races to eat. We don't eat a lot at the tracks. I mean, sometimes we do, but we try to cut costs there by not eating a lot at the racetracks. So it's a lot of planning for the week. It's a lot of laundry when we're done with the weekend, washing everything and putting everything away. And it just gets to be making sure we have everything we need. boarding the dogs. Sometimes the dogs will come with us. We have 2 golden retrievers that are really good boys, but
We'll have to get them on the video.
yeah, we
sometime.
should. Yeah. They're really great boys, but sometimes mom wants a break from them too. So it's kind of nice, but I got to get them boarded and get that organized and figured out. And again, we kind of do that when it's these big long specials because it's 5 days cooped up in an RV. It's not fair to them either. So, yeah, so it's that. And what am I forgetting?
I don't know. I mean, she does a lot, whether it's, just getting everything packed away. And as you mentioned, afterwards when we get home, you go through and clean the whole RV too, which is, it's a lot of work.
It is. It's a lot of stuff. But we're, as you do it more, you get used to it and kind of figure out, it's nice when we get the schedules at the beginning of the year and to kind of map out where we're going to go. And so we can kind of figure out how often we're going to use the RV. So, yeah, I think we're figuring it out, but it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot. And I'm happy that you are willing to do it. So thank you.
Yes.
So Nicole had a lot of great questions on here. So I'm going to ask you a few. How do you feel when I'm on the track? Obviously, we already talked about this. You get nervous. Is there anything else?
No, I trust you. We've had conversations many times through the years about you're not a kid that's gonna go crazy on the track. You don't throw your helmet. You don't flip people off. You're not that. You're so good about if you're upset, you kind of keep it to yourself and find another time to kind of.
And then I just yell at you. That's what happens. Is I get mad, either with racing or with Dad or with another driver, and I just yell at her, and she's very great about just taking it. And I'm sorry, but
that's my role. That's my role too. I'm the punching bag for that. I mean, and that's fine. That's what I would like you to do. I want you to be able to come to me and just have your moment, and then I can say, all right, we're good. Let's move on. Let's go on to the next thing. So, yeah, I feel like you're really good about that. So I don't worry about you. Again, I don't worry about you. It's just a lot of the other people you race with sometimes that put me on edge.
Mm-hmm. I hear you on that one. So, we already asked, would you ever drive my race car? But have you ever drove my race car?
No.
Have you even ever sat in it? I don't think you've ever even been in it.
I don't think I'd fit in it.
Oh, you would fit.
I don't think. I know. I've never been in there. I don't want to. That's not my thing.
Okay, and then her last question was, where is your favorite place to watch me race?
Favorite place? Gosh, I'm going to say Grand Forks. Grand Forks. I know, there's something about that bull ring.
There's something about it.
There's something about it. I don't know.
We have 2 more. Michael asked, are you superstitious at all? Do you do something weird?
I am superstitious, but not freaky weird about it. So I don't have rituals or anything that has to be done. But there is just every time you race, when you're going to take off and take the green, I always say in the video, be safe, Cole, have a good race. I say that every time. And that just, again, I'm saying it out loud. I'm just and I'll say a prayer for you because I'm just oh, please let it go well. Please let it be okay. Let it be fine. But every race, when you take off, I say that. So.
Yeah, and I don't always get that in the video, but she does say that before every race. So last question here. Grandma Sheila wants to know, how do you handle the ride home if the night doesn't go as planned? And how do you handle it when it goes really well?
Well, let's start when it goes well. When it goes well, everybody's happy. It's fun. We're eating our snacks. We're heading home, talking about the race, watching the race. Everybody's excited and just we have fun. It's great. When it doesn't go well, it's again my job or my role as the mediator to be a sounding board. So I listen and I intervene when it's getting kind of heated, because it did this summer.
This summer was bad.
This summer is the worst it's been, and it was a lot of, just full disclosure, it was a lot of Matt thinking that Cole wasn't driving the car correctly, and Cole telling Matt that the car wasn't handling correctly, and back and forth with how can it not when we've changed this and this and this and this, and it was just, it was getting to the point where it was we need to stop. This is not fun. Nobody's having a good time, and it's literally affecting our whole family, because Greta has input too, which Greta's the little sister, and you need to interview her.
She's
sometime.
the next one on there.
Because Greta's the silent partner of our group, but on the way home, she will put in her 2 cents about what she thinks of the race, and sometimes her comments are welcomed, and sometimes they are not. But I feel like that's the beauty of our family. Like we just hash it out, we figure it out, and then we get ready for the next race. But this summer was hard, and it was a lot of, okay, maybe we just need to quit. And I'm proud of us for not quitting, but yeah, I think it was a lot of tough nights going home.
We definitely got tested for sure.
There was some silent rides home. We just cranked the radio up.
And I don't like that because it's weird. But anyways, that was the last question I have. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. We're just excited for 2025. It's going to be a big year.
It's going to be a big year.
Cole's graduating, so we've got big things happening too, just in our family, not even racing. But
yep. So that's the interview with Mom. Mom, thanks for taking an hour out of your day. I'm sorry this got a little long, but there's a lot of stuff here that we got to talk about.
no,
So
I don't think anybody cares about it, but I'm happy to be on.
yes. Well, thanks for taking the time. And you wanna end it?
Oh, sure. A boom, boom, boom. Out go the lights.